Welcome back to the L&D Explorers Podcast from GoSkills. On today's episode, we're talking with Dr. Stella Lee, the founder of Paradox Learning and an expert in digital learning and AI strategy. Our topic today is AI literacy and data ethics. We'll discuss how L&D teams can better understand AI and recommend steps for adoption and communication. And we'll also talk about data ethics and building a culture of responsible AI use. I'm Dan Gorgone, course producer for GoSkills. I hope you enjoy this discussion. Welcome back to the L&D Explorers Podcast. We are very happy to have Dr. Stella Lee joining us, the director of Paradox Learning. Stella, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dan.
We're going to be talking about AI literacy in the workplace. You know, with AI popping up everywhere, in seemingly every tool, every platform, every app, AI is becoming more and more of an issue that we need to understand more baseline knowledge about. That includes us as L&D professionals and also all the employees in our organization, people who may be tempted to use these tools for work purposes, who may be already using them without our knowledge. So it's important for us to ensure that they're using these tools responsibly and ethically. So we're going to be talking about some of these things on this episode today. But let's start with AI literacy.
Sure.
Can you explain kind of in layman's terms, the terms like AI literacy and data ethics and what do those really mean? And maybe what are some of the misconceptions that you come across?
Even though the term AI seems to kind of pop up and become like the spotlight for the past year and a half, 2 years, it's actually been around for 70 years at least. It is just constantly evolving what the definition is of AI. And with AI literacy, a lot of the focus in this past 2 years, people really reacting to it is, oh, wow, there's ChatGPT, there's Copilot, there's Llama and Claude, and all these generative AI models that we can use. And so a lot of focus is on like the tools itself. You hear about that like every other day when people talk about AI, it's usually referring to a specific tool or a set of tools. And rightly so, because it's so new and people trying to figure out how to use them. But AI literacy to me is seeing the way currently things are. We need to go beyond the conversation or the effort in trying out the tools, right? Like learning how to use it, it's one thing, and there's no going around it. We need to try them. We need to have firsthand experience to understand how to use them. But at the same time, recognizing that's not sufficient, especially, and not just for L&D, I think for everybody, we need to know, like, what are these tools good for? There's certain, what I call affordance, that are naturally, these tools are naturally good for using certain things or produce certain results, but there's also limitations. And talking about misconception, I really hate the term AI. By the way, artificial intelligence give people this misconception that this is a being that's almost like godlike, that you can do anything. But it's really just a collection of technologies, right? And I think we need to understand, like, so what are the limitations on that? What are some challenges? What are some, like you mentioned, ethical issues? So AI literacy is for us to very intentionally cultivating that knowledge, that skill in interacting, in using, in advocating for its uses and misuses, and looking at it to a critical lens, but also a diverse lens from different perspectives.
AI is a complex issue right now because in this generation of tools, so many more people have access to AI-powered technology than ever before. And like we were saying in the intro, the AI tools have seeped into each and every app, and it's in Microsoft Office, and it's in Google, and it's on your phone, and it's all over the place. And so the opportunity to use these tools has greatly increased. But as you were saying, we need to be able to, when it comes to work-related, professional-related use, there needs to be some kind of training, perhaps some kind of regulation,
Yeah.
and certainly some kind of communication where, depending on the company and depending on the industry, of course, and certainly depending on whoever your customers are, perhaps there needs to be some policies in place because the privacy issues, the legal issues, the data issues, we start to get into the data ethics part of it. How can companies properly address these concerns with all of these tools out there? What are some things that they can do, and maybe what are some examples of things that companies have done to address it?
Yeah, just to get back to your early points about AI literacy, my intention is really to take the focus away from just the technical component of it, because I think so much focus is on like the technology, right? The technical aspect. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture, like you're talking about the ethical component, the policy, the regulations and compliance, and also from a societal perspective, how is it impacting us? As a society, how's it impacting us as individuals, and how's it impacting us the way we work, the way we interact with each other. So that's the whole idea behind the AI literacy. So when it comes to how do we apply that, or how do we actionalize that at an organizational level, I think the first thing is it's really need to be a commitment to do it coming from the top. I think that that visibility needs to happen before anything else, right? You can say you're committed to it, but there's no action to follow through, that you are invested in developing AI literacy and to close that AI skill gaps. Nothing is going to happen. So I think the first thing is the top-down commitment and able to communicate that commitment all the way through at every level. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, it's to raise that awareness. Like how are you going to communicate that? And did you have a change management plan in place to help people? Because cultural change, I think that's huge. And these are the more intangible pieces that sometimes we forget and sometimes we don't think about it ahead of time. Change management sometimes, or communication plan sometimes comes to at the end and it doesn't work, right? Like we were chatting before, people don't want to change unless you give them a good reasons, right? Like we need to understand it. We need to own it. We need to understand that we have a say. We are part of the process. We're being consulted. So I think that that communication, transparency, awareness needs to happen as well. And I've seen that being done in some organizations and some not so much. But I think we're still early. We're still early in this at this stage. I think last year we spent most of last year reacting to AI. And this year, I think there's a little bit more acting. There's more proactive approaches this year. So it's still early. I think, of course, after you communicate and show your commitment, it's really about like what are different interventions, right? Like, are they workshops? Are they in a form of a resource hub? Are they in a form of more formalized training? Are they in a form of more informal and social learning? How do you foster that? And also very importantly, it's we're going to pilot test any of the tools that we've been talking about. It's good to get people up to a certain base level of knowledge and skills, but ultimately we need to test the tools at the place where they work, right? Of the specific job functions, so people can see, okay, this tool this is how it supports my work, my workflow, my tasks, my daily tasks, but also how do I work with it? How can I collaborate with AI? Or there are certain tasks, perhaps I don't have to do them anymore, right? They could be automated. So we need to understand that at the place of where we work, right? At the task level. And so I think to pilot that, it's the next step after the training has been implemented. And of course, something very close to my heart that I think we tend to forget is measuring the impact, measuring the outcomes, understand what works, what doesn't work, what more need to be done. So these are some of the steps that I think need to be in place before we can think about how we're going to use AI better and more effectively.
That's great that you included that at the end, because so many of us just want to just be like, I'm sure it's fine. We don't need to look at the dashboards. I mean, it felt right, right? It felt
Yeah.
good, everyone. It felt good. All right. No, this is great, because I was going to follow up with how you can deal with and how you can address how some people are going to have a natural resistance to the
Yeah.
AI, to the adoption of it, to the just general kind of ethics behind it, because AI certainly has brought with it a lot of controversy. Now, I just want
Yeah.
to sum up, because I want to summarize what you said, because I think a lot of this helps to address it, starting with the top-down commitment.
Yeah.
Bringing awareness and having some change management in place to address what you're doing with AI. Building and making accessible some training and resources for people.
Yeah.
Doing a pilot program so you can get people, get their hands dirty and they could try things out and see how it
Exactly.
actually works, and
Yeah.
feel it personally, and then of course measuring the results. A lot of this stuff right here should be able to, in theory, on paper, address any of the misconceptions and resistance that people have. But
In theory.
right, but there are going to still be some people out there who do not want to. Certainly, they don't want to change, but they may also be fearful that in proving that these AI technologies work and that they work really well, that they're going to eliminate their own jobs
Yeah. Yeah.
by adopting these things. Where do we find the balance there? And where can we assuage some of those fears that people are going to have that AI is going to steal their jobs away?
I mean, to be honest, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
It's too early to say. Like that's when we talk about AI and jobs, that's the number one question, right? Is it going to take my jobs away? How is it going to change my work? How is it going to help me with my work? And I think we all understand that change it's happening, and it's continued to happen. But I think in terms of how do we address that with people, the first thing is I would say trying to identify the sentiments behind that, like the root cause, right? A lot of that, it's the fear of the unknown. And we all have that. We don't know what's going to happen, and nobody has an oracle to predict the future. But I think by addressing like specific sentiment and cause, like where's the fear coming from? Is it fear that they will be replaced, or is it fear that they don't get any support for as things are changing, right? Or is it fear because there's also a lot of mistrust of technology. Like, is it going to be invading my privacy? Is it going to, am I going to be undermined or being marginalized because the technology has built-in biases and judgment, which they do. So if it's the mistrust of tech, I think companies need to really put some policies in place. We really need to think about what are some best practices to build trust. Is it to ensure there's a responsible AI use policy? like who's going to be, I think accountability is a big topic for companies to address, to say, well, when something goes wrong, when there's biases, who's going to be correcting them? Who's going to mitigate the risk? Like who's going to pick up the slacks, right? So a lot of the organization haven't addressed that yet, or we're still in the middle of building these policies. So I think that would help as you communicate that to your staff, to say, we're aware this is a risk. We're doing everything we can to implement guardrails, to implement safety nets to mitigate the risk. So I think that would address some of the of the fear of the people that don't want to change, right? And so you have to understand, like, is it trust? Is it fear of the job being replaced? And if that is, what's your organization going to do about these people? Like, do you have a plan? Do you have a reskill or upskill plan? Do you have a plan to help people that are being displaced? Did you train them to work with AI? Did you have alternative career pathways for them? Oh, I think the fear, the resistance is valid, and I think that happened with every iteration of technology, right? From the printing press to the steam engine to everything else that in between. I think it's valid. I mean, look at people that were driving horse carts. I mean, they didn't have a job when cars came around, and it's a valid concern. So I don't think it's unreasonable, but I also think we need to be careful and not generalize everything and put it in one package. We need to unpack that and understand how we can address all the concerns.
And I think what you're talking about really gets to trying to build that culture that is accepting of AI tools, but also is supportive of the team and trying
exactly.
to not just, with the policies and with the testing programs and with all the things that say, that the L&D team can try to anticipate as they see different tools becoming available and new ways of training become available. Creating that culture that supports it is going to be really important.
100%. And I've seen this over and over again in education technology, right? Somebody or some team decided to implement this tech and consulted no one, or consulted, a selective group of people that actually are not impacted by. So it often doesn't work, because they'll pick a tool that doesn't have anything to do with learning, or it picks a tool that has terrible user experience and nobody can use it, or pick a tool that's not addressing the right problem. And so consultation and getting involved, like, with the stakeholders, the right stakeholders, is very important. And that's why people are resistant, because they see that change happening over and over again, and they're not consulted. And then suddenly they're forced to use them, and it's actually making their jobs more difficult. So I think like giving people control, involving people in a decision-making process, building in that feedback loop throughout, I think that also help. And it's just good change management practice, right? And also gradually introduced AI instead of just one big implementation of, big tech. Again, pilot tests, introduce it gradually, iterate, get feedback, and adjust.
So as companies move forward with the consideration of AI tools and training, the consideration of the ethical use of the tools is still going to be something that is going to be, I think, on a lot of people's minds, and it's something that companies need to take responsibility for. Establishing some policies for the use of different tools, establishing policies in the ways that you create things that become public facing, and certainly the things that may touch sensitive personal data, like taking all your customers' information and dropping it in for some machine learning stuff, understanding the repercussions of that, and if there are any issues there. understanding the ethics of how to use all these tools is going to be not just important, it's necessary. So as an L&D team, how can you prepare for this? What are some of the ways that you can not just like kind of bake in ethics into the
Yeah.
culture, but prepare yourself and protect yourself as an organization?
Yeah. Can I first address why AI ethics is even more important than just regular tech ethics?
Hmm.
So I think tech ethics in general, of course, we need to pay attention and really advocate for that because technology, it's not neutral. I think that's also a misconception. People think, oh, it's just that's tech. You can use it whatever way you use it, but it's not. Like some human built it, right? Like people built it, and people have ideologies. People have to make decisions. By the fact that you're including certain features or functions or excluding certain things, you're already making a value judgment on what goes into a tool. Even like learning management system, the fact that learning management system is a tool that presume things need to be in discrete learning pieces, right? That's a decision that that somebody makes, and that's the limitation of the technology that shape the way you provide learning. So same with AI, but I think AI is even more problematic, or ethics needs to be, we need to pay more attention to ethics is because we are ingesting a large amount of data sets that goes through this complex algorithm that we don't often have access to to look inside and see what's happening. Sometimes you might have heard the word black box algorithm. It means it goes through this process that we often don't know what happened there, what decisions were made throughout this algorithmic process. And then the output, it's not something we can challenge or being explained to why it arrived at this particular conclusion. ChatGPT is an example. If you ask ChatGPT, tell me here are what are the key ethical topics to discuss, it will give you like a list, but it also leave out others. But it doesn't tell you like why give you a list of 8 bullet points and not 20 bullet points. Or why these particular eight? Why is it more important than the others? It's not clear. And that is what AI technology, that we don't have any, well, we're having a bit more control and more insight now, but not sufficient still. It's getting better. There's a big push on explainable AI, meaning you would demand a machine to explain the decisions to you, to humans, and also the ability to audit the process, right? But that's not baked into every AI tech right now. So I think transparency and the ability to explainability, it's a big one for AI. Understand how these models make decisions. Can we question them? Can we challenge them? Can we change them? But then, of course, it comes with that is like biases and fairness. Again, ChatGPT and other large language model ingest it. Basically, they scrape the whole internet, right? As data sets. But do we know what's there? No. I mean, and as we all know, internet is not neutral. There's a lot of biases, there's a lot of
Hmm.
opinions, there's a lot of misinformation. So how good is the data set? How clean is it? How diverse is it? And if you're scraping the internet, are all the languages represented? Are all the viewpoints represented? What about large population that don't even have access to the internet? Like, are their viewpoints being left behind? Um, so I think these are like really concerning topics.
Definitely some scary things in there that you mentioned. Those some
Yes.
frightening things that I think some L&D professionals would listen to that and say, yeah, you know what? Just gonna back away now from all the AI stuff. No, but I do think that
Yeah.
there are so many pros and cons. There's so many arguments to be made on either side. Um,
Oh,
but
agreed. Yeah.
understanding is the only way that you can navigate through the discussions that you're going to have inevitably with the people who are on your team, with the leadership. That's if you do take on some of these AI tools and you do make a commitment to it, you will, like you said, you're going to need that top-down commitment
Yeah.
and that understanding as well.
And
So,
and by the way, it's not
yeah.
meant to scare people off about AI. I think like if anything, I want people to be more informed and just like going into it, understanding what are some of the concerns. How do we push back? Don't just accept things at face value.
These game-changing
Yeah.
technologies are going to push us out further, into many different directions along many different axes, and with them come the risks and trade-offs and sacrifices sometimes that are going to change our industry, change our
Yeah.
company, change the world. So being informed is the only way to really make the best decisions about the future of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
and so, with that being said, I do want to wrap up our discussion, but I do want people to be informed. So, with that being said, are there some resources that you can recommend so that the L&D professionals out there watching this can improve their own AI literacy and help
Yeah.
others understand?
Yeah, I actually, as we speak, I'm building an AI literacy course online in partnership with Athabasca University, which is a open university in Canada. We aim to launch it in September, and so along with that course, I've been putting a lot of resources out there in my blog and on LinkedIn and everywhere else. But in terms of like other people that I admire, I really like following up on Dr. Stephanie Moore on ethics. And she's at, I think, University of New Mexico. She puts a lot of information on data and tech ethics in general out there. The other person I like to follow on AI ethics is Dr. Maha Bali, Bali. She's at American University at Cairo. She actually I love her work because she looks at it from a non-Western perspective and very, very much appreciate it. I also like to follow Montreal AI Ethics Institute. All Tech is Human is another website. Algorithmic Justice League is another one that has a lot of news on AI ethics. And nothing beats trying out tools, right? So
Mhm.
if you have never been, there's a site called There's an AI for that. It has hundreds of thousands of tools on AI. It's overwhelming, but it also gives you a glimpse of like what AI can do, right? It's broken down into different job tasks that can help you.
Mhm.
And it also have a job impact index to break down, like if you're a pharmacist, these are the tasks you perform. And currently, there's AI tool that can help with or replace these tasks. So that gives you a good
Nice.
glimpse of the future. So these are some resources I love.
Well, and of course, we can learn more about you at
Yeah.
paradoxlearning.com. That's your place. And then looking for you on LinkedIn if people have questions, want to find you on social.
Yeah, please. That's where I usually announce any new pieces of content or talks or any AI news relating to L&D and education. So and also connect with me, obviously. It's the best way to have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Once again, Dr. Stella Lee from Paradox Learning. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this episode of the L&D Explorers Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe because more episodes are on the way. And no matter what your learning and development goals are, GoSkills can help. Click the link in the description to find out more. And thanks again for watching.